Okay, now we're live. We were having some technical problems. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Elizabeth Roy with Break the Cycle, and this is Dr. Anxiety Lisa Cortez.
Hi.
Thank you so much for joining me today.
I'm excited to be here.
Of course, we've already done our chatting. Can you guys hear us? Can you let me know if you can hear our microphones?
Our voices.
Our voices.
Can you hear me? Usually I have a very, like a softer voice.
Buenas tardes, everyone. Can you hear us? Can you just let me know?
That way we can probably hear you, but let me see. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Okay, yes. Good. Okay. All right. So thank you so much for joining us today. I wanted to restart the live podcast, and I wanted to talk about anxiety. It was a long January. It felt like a whole year, right?
Yes.
And we made it through February, and I know that I am not the only one that is feeling the sense of overwhelming. Yes,
that's the perfect word.
Yes,
to use.
Overwhelming. And so I think that what we talk about here today is not only going to help me, but it's also going to help a lot of people that are going to be listening to us.
Yeah.
So I wanted to get started. You know, we met a while back, and I've been following you. I admire you. I love how authentic you are, and then all the resources that you put out. And so I wanted to do this with you, and I wanted to restart my podcast live with you to help us out understanding a little bit about what anxiety is in our culture. We don't talk a lot about it. It's still a taboo. It's still something that we don't discuss. It's still something that we don't know how to manage. And it's always, we tend to talk about this, estás loca, or no vayas con el loquero. We don't really understand how much going to the therapist would really help us. So I wanted you to talk to us about the difference between just being stressed and then more from a clinical term, what is, anxiety? What does anxiety means to you?
So anxiety is a normal emotion, just like sadness, happiness. The brain anxiety is created in the brain, and the part of the brain called the amygdala. I'm going to get a little
go for
nerdy here, but it's created in the amygdala, and it's supposed to create anxiety to keep us safe, right? So you walk into a room and there's a lion, pues te va a dar ansiedad, right? It's going to give you that nervous energy,
adrenaline,
to get the hell out of there. So the oxygen pumps to your muscles, and that's why they feel tingly, and you feel all those sensations in order for you to run, get out of harm's way. So the amygdala is supposed to give us those signals. It should last a few seconds, and then you're safe. And the rest and digest system, which is the parasympathetic nervous system, should kick in. The sympathetic nervous system is the one that gives you the fight or flight, get out of there, all the symptoms. So everyone experiences anxiety. It's when we start fearing it, or we start experiencing the anxiety more and more, and it starts affecting our life, when there's no harm in front of us.
Okay.
That's when it should be clinically diagnosed as generalized anxiety disorder or other types of anxiety, right? Today we'll talk about generalized anxiety disorder, because there's so many other types of anxiety. But that is when it starts affecting your life, and when you start having anxiety when there's no danger around. When you're like, why am I feeling anxious? I'm home.
Yeah.
Why do I feel these feelings? Why do I feel like I'm having a heart attack? And then there's so many different symptoms with anxiety, physical symptoms, that are scary. And once you have fear of anxiety, it's really hard to get out of it.
Yes.
It becomes that loop of, then you get scared of, what if I get anxious? What if I go to work and have a panic attack? What if I'm driving and I'm here on the expressway on 610 or, I-10 or whatever? We know how the traffic is here in Houston. We're in Houston. It's crazy. And so that creates more anxiety. And so it just becomes this loop of you fear the anxiety. It becomes, and then there's so many different reasons why people might get generalized anxiety disorder. Sometimes it's our hormones. I've been in the mental health field for 24 years, in private practice for 15 years. And what I've seen now is that almost everyone has experienced some sort of like panic attack.
Yes.
I do think it's what we eat, all the preservatives, all the chemicals that we eat, hormones that they put in the chickens, the cows, and all the antibiotics. I mean, that's a whole other story, but another topic that we can talk about. But recently I feel like, you know, and I tell people, you think these hormones that are injected into the cows are magically going to disappear when they slaughter them, and they don't. And so just the past, you know, few years after COVID, I think it's become really, I think everyone experiences anxiety, not clinically, but, you know, anxiety. But you were talking about our culture. You're right. I used to live in the Valley. That's where we both are from.
We're both Valley girls.
956.
Yes.
When I first opened my practice 15 years ago, there was about 3 people in private practice for 1.5 million people. So that tells you everything, right? People don't, in our culture, back then they didn't. I think it's getting better now. I think there's a lot of people that are advocating, and people are realizing how important therapy is. But it was really hard to get people to understand that therapy is important for everyone, not only just no nomás los gringos, you know, no nomás. It's important for everyone to go to therapy. So me educating our community was my mission before I started my practice. And even after I started my practice, I would do, everyone that would have me, I would go and do free talks, free, you know, workshops, just to educate our community.
I think it's all part of educating ourselves. Like for me, there's no, I've always been super open that I suffer from anxiety, depression, and just lately I was diagnosed with ADHD. And so it gets to a point where you have to also figure out, you know, where is it coming from, right? The anxiety, because you have to get to the root of it, right? It's not just about being medicated. It's figuring out where is the root, working through those, you know, traumas, right? Healing that part to be able to figure out what is it that you're going to put into your body that is going to help you to be the best version of yourself. And not a lot of times it's medication, right? Because there's so many ways that we can help ourselves with that. And we're not saying that we're against one thing or another one, right? We're just saying that there's ways that we can help ourselves without just taking medication. And you were mentioning about the hormones on our food, what we digest. We're talking about also like the things that we use around the house, sprays, you know, cleaning supplies. Like there's so much that
hormone disruptors.
So that it would take us like so many more episodes to talk about it, right? But I would like for anybody that is listening to us that maybe is dealing with anxiety, that is dealing with that feeling of overwhelmness, that by the end of this podcast, you will have one thing you can start with, right? That will help you. Maybe a strategy or technique also that will help you in the meantime when you're feeling a certain way. And then just educating you on things that you can do if you feel like you don't have that support system at home. Because when I was younger, and I remember I would tell my parents, I'm feeling this certain way, but I couldn't explain what it was. And they would say, ponte a barrer, ponte a trapear, ponte a lavar los trastes y se te quita, right?
When that's I would the say, Latinos way to fix anything.
Yes,
right?
When I would say, I'm feeling sad, prende el radio, ponte a bailar. Or I'm feeling a certain way. That was, you know, their way of responding to me. Obviously, in my situation, my parents, I come from a very poor family, right? So even thinking about finding a doctor or a therapist and pay for a therapy session was completely out of the question.
Tenemos dinero?
No había dinero. You know, if you have money, frijolitos y arroz for the, you know, to eat, that was one thing. But to have to to feel like it was necessary to find that therapy, right? As like you would go to the doctor. And many of us don't go to the doctor unless like ya se están muriendo, you know. So this is the part of where I want our audience to think about it as this is where we break the cycle. This is how we change our generation. This is how we're able to uplift each other without thinking that we are
Estás loco.
Sí, estás loco, that you don't need that. Ponte, start thinking about something else, because sometimes it's not just about, although it is about your mindset, sometimes it's not just about, think about something positive and the negative is going to go away. Especially,
I'm not and I'm glad you brought that up. And if you don't mind me talking about this.
No, go for it.
I'm not a big fan of positive affirmations when people have anxiety. You know, you hear about this, and I think positive affirmations are great for people that don't have anxiety, don't have depression, aren't going through things that are hard. If you have trauma and people are telling you, just think positive.
Yeah.
Nada va a pasar.
Yeah.
Look at this. Your life is great.
Yeah.
And you've been through something.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, fuck you, bitch. Sorry, I cuss. But it's like, you don't
Unfiltered.
understand.
Yeah.
Right? And I think with anxiety, and I've seen billionaires, I've seen celebrities in one-on-one in my practice, and millionaires, multimillionaires. And they all tell me the same thing. When they have severe anxiety that's causing severe panic, doesn't matter how much money they have, they're like, I don't care. All of this that I still have anxiety. Yeah. So, you know, it's really hard for you to say life is great when you're having a panic attack. You're like, it doesn't feel great. Yeah. So it's not about like what you have, and you know, and that sometimes, you know, and I know that it's coming from a great place when people are like, just look at what you have, mm-hmm. like concentrate on this. Now, once you heal and you're doing better and you don't have anxiety and you've worked through your trauma, then you can talk, you know, positive affirmations. For now, I when my patients come in, I teach them rational thinking. Okay. Like, what is going on right now that's true? Is your life great? Fuck no, because I have, and this is what my patients tell me, because I have panic attacks. I can't even go to work. I can't even leave my house. So okay, what is true? You know what? Today I had therapy with Dr. Lisa. Or today, you know what? I was able to not have 10 panic attacks. Yeah. So, and those are called bridge statements in psychology, which is a lot better. But once positive affirmations are great. When you've done the work, you feel good, you're having great positive affirmations will work. But when you're in the moment, it's hard.
Yeah. I think one thing that has worked for me when I feel really, really overwhelmed, I start doing the tapping, mm-hmm. right? The tapping for me, and at first I thought, pinche tapping, que tapping y que nada.
And the way I teach it is even better, specifically for anxiety.
She's going to give us an example in a little bit.
That'll be the technique that I teach you all.
So for me, it was the tapping and just thinking to myself, like, and where am I right now? Okay, I'm at home. I am safe, right? What are the things that I have control over? What are the things that I can look around and feel like they're no danger to me? Because I have had anxiety attacks where I start sweating and then I cannot think clearly. I can't focus. Yeah. And that's the time when I let everything come to me and I don't have a way out. And for me, crying. I'm a big crier because I feel that that's the way my body releases, right? Other people may punch, which violence is not the way. Other people might drink, right? Which drinking is not the way. But everybody finds something to be able to right a way out, the release. Mm-hmm. For me is dancing, crying, and tapping. So I have quite a few questions that I have already for Dr. Lisa. Mm-hmm. And also I'm inviting the audience, if you have any questions, post them so that we can ask her too. Remember, this is like getting therapy for free, guys. So make sure you have those questions ready. Let's see. Yes, I have learned that tapping helps. Mine is crying. Lisette, you and I, big criers, and there's nothing wrong with it. Okay, so let's get started. I'm going to do the honors.
Okay, I'm going to be looking at the questions so we
Okay,
could see.
cool. Awesome.
Okay.
And they're not in any order, so that way we can get that.
Ya estoy viejita.
No, que viejita. We just need a better magnifier.
Can you share simple techniques people can use when they feel an anxiety attack coming on? Okay. This is going to be something that you're going to be shocked. When you have a panic attack coming on, you can do things, right? But when the panic attack is already there, it's better to not do anything.
Okay.
When you try to stop it, you're telling the amygdala that something is wrong. Okay. And think about it when you're like, oh my God, I have a panic attack. What do I need? Let me get the...
You start sweating, right?
You're telling the amygdala that something is wrong. So the panic is just going to continue. So when you have already a panic attack and it started, allow it to come. The more you allow it to come, the faster it's going to go away. So we call it sitting with your anxiety. So you're going to sit with your anxiety, whether you're standing, it doesn't matter if you're sitting. I call it sitting with your anxiety because you're going to just stay with it, right? Staying with your anxiety. You're going to say, okay, I know that it's just anxiety. And the first few times it's going to be hard. But the more you do that, the more you're telling the amygdala, oh, wait a minute. Last time that you felt this, you were fine. Nothing happened. Okay. So the more you try to stop it, the more you're telling the amygdala that. And that's what we're trying to train the amygdala to know that you're safe, that you're fine. And the more you do it, the shorter they're going to get. And then the less you're going to have. Okay. So learning not to fear. The amygdala is always keeping track of things that it thinks is danger. Okay. So let's say the last time you had a panic attack, you got dizzy. And let's say you go to the sauna and you're in the sauna, you go do red light therapy, estás acostada, the lights are really bright when you do red light therapy. You get up and you get dizzy. The amygdala is going to be like, oh shit, last time that this happened, you were in danger. So it's going to create the panic again.
So there are certain things that are triggered. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, not everyone has triggers, right? But when you have symptoms of anxiety, there's going to be symptoms that you're going to get from other things that mimic panic. So when you work out, you're working out, right? Your heart rate's going to, if you have heart palpitations and you've never worked out and all of a sudden you start working out,
I see.
You're going to be like, oh my God, and the amygdala. So we're trying to tell the amygdala that you're okay. If you have these symptoms, you're okay. Because there's so many different symptoms with anxiety that are found in other, right? When you drink coffee, sometimes you get that, if you have panic attacks and you get that type of symptoms, that can trigger.
Now, coffee, when we talk about coffee, it's like, don't mess with my coffee, right? I'm a coffee lover. But I have noticed that if I drink my coffee before anything else in the morning, I just get in a really shaky, irritable mood. So I'm trying to drink water and I'm trying to have my breakfast before I drink my coffee. And for me, I've noticed that that's what it does.
I need to hydrate as soon as you wake up. When we are asleep, our body uses a lot of hydration because we're regenerating. And so most of us, when we wake up, we're dehydrated. Dehydration can trigger anxiety.
So many different caffeine dehydrates too, right?
And caffeine dehydrates. So if you're already dehydrated and then you drink your coffee, not only you're getting more dehydrated, but the caffeine in the coffee can also make you feel jittery. Remember, if you fear the anxiety, anything that mimics anxiety can trigger a panic attack.
¿Ya oyeron? El cafecito después de tomarse una tacita de té o de tomarse una agüita. Porque si no, ya we're already dehydrated. I used to hear that stress and anxiety, that's right. Stress and anxiety.
There's two that you're going to start.
Ya me recetó. Can stress and anxiety with a lot of people will lose weight. I was like, pues a mí no me está pasando. Me, when I am stressing and I have anxiety, I tend to want to snack. I'm working on snacking on, something more healthy. But there's a lot to it of the reaction that we have to the anxiety. Mm-hmm. So you're just to go back to it. When you're having an anxiety moment, the best that you can do is just feel the anxiety. Mm-hmm. Just how they tell us when you're having a moment or you're feeling a certain way, the emotions, your body you just have to feel it. Don't fight it.
Don't fight it.
Don't fight it, because then you're creating more anxiety by fighting it. Mm-hmm. Like me, I'm always like on a fight or flight mode. My stomach always feels in a knot. Yeah. And sometimes I check myself and I'm not breathing. And I'm like, why am I holding my breath?
Because your body thinks something's wrong. And so it's like getting tight and everything, right? And that's when we start getting headaches, because you don't realize your body is in a fight or flight. Your muscles tense up, your jaw, like you start getting jaw pain, neck pain,
grinding of the teeth, right? In the middle of the night, all of that. Ay, no, estamos por casi a la mamá de Tarzán. Let's ask her another question.
Another question. Okay.
And one question leads into so many other things, so.
I know. Oh, I could talk about anxiety for months and months straight. Do you recommend staying informed, or is it better to limit media exposure during stressful times? Always limit. When you first get diagnosed with anxiety or you have anxiety, I always tell people don't Google, especially if they have me. I mean, I'm already retired, so I don't accept patients, but the patients, that I had, and some that I still see, once they have me, I tell them I'm your Google. You want to learn or know anything about anxiety, you ask me. Because Google will give you 550,000 pages of possibilities of this, of that. And when we have anxiety, it's so easy for us to have irrational thoughts. Oh my goodness, what if I have this? What if I have that? What if I...
Hypochondriac.
And that's when you get health anxiety, right? Because there's so many different possibilities of, again, with anxiety, because we actually have physical symptoms. It's hard for us to not fear it, and it's easy for us to find a diagnosis of something else.
De que te vas a morir.
I'm having a heart attack. I mean, I've had patients that come to see me and they're like, oh my God, I've been to every specialist. I've been to the ER 7 times, and it's just anxiety.
Does it sound familiar to you all? Okay, so let me pull another one. Okay, before I ask you another one, I know, like right now, with so much happening, right, on TV, the news. I don't watch the news, but there's so much stuff happening right now. People are feeling really exhausted and overwhelmed. They can say, like, when you're saying, like, don't consume as much information, right? I feel like if I don't, it gives me anxiety just thinking about it, because if I don't consume information, but hold on, I'm like, if I don't consume information, then how am I going to know what's happening?
You will
right?
know.
And then
this is what I tell people.
I'm the worst patient.
If something seriously, like you need to evacuate, you will know. You will know.
But I want to know before it even happens. I want to prepare for that evacuation.
That's the fear that you need to work on.
Yeah, it's like, I don't want to know at the last minute. And I know that I'm not the only one. There are a lot of people feel like this. Like, I want to know what is it that it's going to go into effect, that is going to affect me or my people.
And when patients are like that, I tell them, follow 2 or 3, or maybe even just one outlet that you trust. That's it. That's all you need. You don't need to be following 5 different, or watching 5 different CNN and ABC and all these other news stations. You just follow one that you trust, and that's it. And limit, like if you watch in the morning and maybe or the evening, and that's it. You don't have to be online.
No, porque después, like all day, you're like stressing out about, what can you do? How can you make a difference? But then you're stressing, and it puts you into a zone where you feel you can't do anything about it, right? And then that creates more overwhelmness, and then more anxiety. And then you have to call her.
And that's one of the other reasons why we see a spike in anxiety now, because we have so much stimulation, and information and comparing ourselves to people, and it's just like a lot of stimulation.
That one was very similar to what I just asked you. So let's see this other one. It says, can anxiety be completely cured, or is it something that must be managed for life? This is a good one.
So anxiety is a normal emotion, right? So just what I told you, if someone came to me and said, I never want to feel anxious again, am I never going to feel anxiety again? It's like telling someone that has depression, am I never going to be sad again?
Yeah.
Sadness is a normal emotion. Someone passes away, our fur baby passes away, we're going to be sad. Something happens that we don't like, we're going to be sad. Anxiety keeps us safe. If we didn't have anxiety, we wouldn't be cautious about like, oh my God, did I pay my bills? Because it affects, it's everything in your life. Not just are you walking into a room with a lion. It's, okay, what do I need to do? I need to sell 20 shirts this week. I need to see 10 patients this week because I need to buy this, or I need to pay this. I need to pay the rent. I need to, whatever it is, it affects everything in your life. You know what? I don't want to get divorced. So you know what? I better be nice to my husband. It's what keeps us safe in whatever is important to us.
So stop looking at it as something horrible and negative, right? But more of like, what's keeping us safe? It's alerting us that something is wrong and something that we need to take care of.
What I do when I feel anxious now, for me, when I have anxiety, it's 2 or 3 seconds because I don't fear it. I'm not like, oh my God, why do I feel anxious? I don't care. If anxiety comes and nothing is going on, I don't care. So when I do get anxious and something is, usually it's driving here in Houston, someone runs a red light, someone almost hits me, I get anxiety. And for me, it's right here, like here. And like, I call it the little jolt of energy, like a little zap, or my feet. I thank my anxiety. I tell, ay, Diosito Santo, thank you so much for giving me this anxiety.
I'm not there yet. I'm not going to be thinking my anxiety yet.
You will. You thank your anxiety, or I thank my anxiety, and I say, thank you, Lord Jesus, for giving me this anxiety because it kept me safe. And thank you. And every morning I say this too. I say, thank you so much, Lord Jesus, for giving me the anxiety that I had back in the 90s, because that's when I had severe panic attacks. Because of that, I was able to dedicate my entire career to helping others eliminate anxiety naturally, because that's what I do, right? I see people that are on medication. Usually they want to get off medication. I see people that never want to take medication. They never take medication. I help them. So I thank my anxiety. I tell God, thank you for the anxiety. And then I not only did I dedicate my whole career to helping others with anxiety, but I am able to understand my patients more. Because if someone has never had anxiety or panic, it's very hard for them to understand.
And I think the difference is that you have felt it, right? And you know what it is. And that's where it, the whole, the wanting to help somebody else, right? Because you've been there before, and that's why you're so passionate about it. That's the difference of somebody that has never gone through it and is going to tell you that you can do this and this and that. I don't think that they can be as empathetic or they can relate and connect with you if you had not gone through it. So I'm learning a lot of good things. Let's see if they have asked any questions.
That's what I'm looking at. And stay away from the news. I will find out sooner or later. Yes, we will. If it's really important and dangerous, we'll know for sure. Yep. Sometimes I start feeling sad and I catch myself being dragged into not a good emotion. I stop myself. Yep. Being aware, and that's the thing. More than anything, I tell my patients, I teach them how to be aware and how to check in with themselves at least once a week. And I tell them, if you forget me for the rest of your life, I don't care. I just want you to remember one thing, to always check in with yourself, because we never do that.
How do we do that? How do we check with ourselves?
Every you can choose the day. You can choose if you want to make it a habit, always attach it to something that you already do.
Okay.
So do you brush your teeth every day?
Yes.
Okay. So every Monday, when you before or after you brush your teeth, you're going to tell yourself, okay, Dr. Lisa told me that I need to check in with myself. You take the time and you sit down and you ask yourself, how do I feel? How do I truly feel right now? What am I going through? What do I need? What am I doing too much of that I shouldn't be doing? What am I doing too little of that I need to? You know what? And that's when you realize, like, oh shit, you know what? I've been so stressed out with work that I haven't meditated, or I haven't drank my tecito, or I haven't taken a day off, or I haven't gone to go get my nails done, or whatever it is, whatever is important to you, that's what I want you to do. So being aware is catching it before you're, you know, the way, as women especially, we do. Ya cuando estamos con ansiedad y panic, that's when we, oh my God, what do I need to do?
I think this would be like breaking the cycle of thinking that you sound like you're crazy by sitting down and having these conversations with yourselves. Because we talk to ourselves all the time.
We're always talking to ourselves.
Always, right? But I think it's more like your thought process, and not thinking that you're sitting with yourself and you're like really checking on how you're feeling. That's a great way to look at it. I mean, we already do it, but maybe we hadn't. I had not put it in those terms of like checking with myself.
Usually we when we do, it's like, what do I need to do?
See, what's on my list?
What's on my list to do? And let me tell you, this is, you know, I've been writing a book for a long time and I haven't had time because I have all these other ventures that I do. But my book is going to be called Put Yourself on the Damn List. Because we do not put ourselves, we have a list of priorities. And we are sometimes, or we're never on that list. And sometimes trash is on that fucking list and we're not. And we're way fucking better than trash. So if taking out the trash is on your list and you're not on your list, you need to put yourself on that list. We need to put ourselves on that list of priorities because no one is going to put us on that list.
Like I'm working also with my, you know, Siania doing a master. Yes, she's doing it. She's amazing, by the way. We're doing a mastermind. And yeah, that's one of the things also that she was talking to me in a group, that we have to, you know, make ourselves accountable for the things that we need to do for ourselves. Like we do it for everybody else, right? But when, let's say, have that meeting with ourselves, if you're going to exercise, and like today I had the meeting with you and I came to see you and I get here on the time that we said we were going to get together. But if I don't show up, then it's going to look bad on me, right? But then I worry about that because I want to be here for you and for me. But if I make that same appointment with myself to check on myself or to exercise for myself, and then I'm doing something for somebody else and I did not do what I said I was going to do for me, then I'm not, you know, that accountability to myself is not there.
We always put ourselves last. Like, I'll do it.
I'll do it later. I'll do it at the end of the day, right? Because everything else is more important than ourselves. Another. Guys, if you have questions, ask.
Let us know.
Let us know. If you're gonna know, you want to know more about Dr. Lisa también.
Yes, learning so much. It's a nice fresh breath of air during my lunch. Oh, good. Yes, she's so amazing.
No questions. Bring the questions.
Done, sis. Golden nuggets. Taking notes. I just go to myself. Cálmate.
How important is therapy for managing anxiety, and what types of therapy work best?
You have to make sure that you find a therapist that truly specializes in anxiety. Most of the stuff, and this is hard to hear, but most of the stuff that helps with anxiety, we don't learn in school as therapists, right? I have a PhD in psychology, and almost nothing that I have. I mean, my foundation of CBT therapy, which is usually what is better for any type of for anxiety. But most of the stuff that I've learned has been from my own learning, from my own experience. And I tell people I learn from my patients too. You know, I learn. But yeah, it's very important for you to find a therapist that truly specializes in anxiety. Most of us are usually fully booked, which is hard, right? But they're out there. You know, they're out there. Interview them. You can interview them and ask them questions, even if it's through back and forth email. You have to find someone that you feel comfortable with. If you have 1 or 2 sessions and you don't feel comfortable yet, even if it's just a little bit, switch to another therapist. It's important for you to feel comfortable with them.
I think that a lot of times too, they teach us that, you know, when you go to the doctor, the doctor is like the high person that tells you what to do, and you just follow through.
El doctor.
Yes, exacto. So I've learned, right, through my experiences, that I do ask a lot of questions. I do learn that, you know, just because they tell you something, sometimes you need to, if you don't feel comfortable about it, you need to go and get a second opinion, and you do have to be able to connect with that doctor. Don't just go follow what they tell you to do, even if you're feeling some kind of resistance. Now, if the resistance is because you need to find more information about it, then it's different. But if you're not connecting and they have a different point of view, a different way of seeing things, then you do need to find somebody that you can truly connect with.
Yeah.
Where can I follow Dr. Lisa? She's speaking all my languages of love. Oh. Yes, Connie, she's amazing. Dr. Lisa, I know we still have time. We'll go through all where you can follow her, like how you can find her. It took me forever to hunt her down for her to do this interview with me. But it is true. All these things that we're listening, you have to do your research. You have to find ways.
Advocate for yourself too.
Advocate for yourself.
You know yourself best. Doesn't matter how many degrees the doctor has. You know yourself best. You have to advocate for yourself. You don't understand how many times I've written letters to doctors that don't know what they're doing, especially when it comes to hormones and stuff like that I've seen I always have my patients get their hormones checked. Now, from after 15 years ago is when I started doing that. And most of the doctors would say, especially in the Valley, they would say like, what is she talking about? Like, you don't need that. And I would be like, yes, you do. And so I write a nice letter. The first letter is always nice and, you know, to the doctor. And the second one, I'm going to fucking educate them because it is very important. And I already know the difference. I know the difference when someone comes with anxiety, when it's situational anxiety, when it's anxiety that they've had for their entire life. One of the first few experiences that people with anxiety that have had it all their life is they worry about their mom. They're at school and they're like, oh, is my mom going to pick me up at the late? What if my mom is late? What if something happens to my mom? Like all these little things, there's questions that I know to ask. And I know, okay, this person has had anxiety all their life. They might have not known, but it was. Or women that come in, and this is what I've been seeing for years. And I think more and more people are talking about it now. So I'm not the only crazy doctor out there.
You're not crazy.
But more and more people are realizing that when, you know, you're going through menopause, it starts 10, 15 years before you start losing estrogen. Your hormones are all out of whack, and our hormones regulate our emotions. And anxiety is one of the symptoms that we see.
And I think it's important not just to, like, when you have the whole wellness and they check all your hormones, like, I think it's very important to figure out what's the optimal, right? Your optimal. Because when you go to the doctor,
just normal.
No, when you go to the doctor, they see it within range and they're like, you're good. And you're like, but fine. Wait, you know, what is my thyroid? You know, what is it? The TH3 or what is it called? The
T3 and T4.
And you check for those and you ask them, okay, where's the optimal? And let's just say that they have you at a 2, but the optimal is at a 5. Then my next question is, how do I get to the 5, right? I don't want to be within range. I want to be able to know that I'm at my optimal so that I can figure out what's happening, that I'm not there.
And doctors are trained to, because they have so many people, right?
Yeah.
And that is another podcast. Another episode.
Does that mean we're going to do a podcast number 2? Okay. Ya dijo.
We're doing 2 and 3.
Okay. We're going to do that.
So there's so much stuff, right? I mean, insurance companies and all this stuff, and doctors are busy, right?
Yeah.
That's not an excuse, but I kind of can understand. They see normal and it's like, no, that's it.
You're good.
One thing that vitamin D is something that I have everyone get checked too. Vitamin D, the range is so big. It's from like 30 to 60 or 70, I think is normal. So let's say you've always been at 60, and all of a sudden you go get your you go get your blood work because you're feeling anxious and you're at 35. Guess what? Your doctor's going to say you're normal. Mm-hmm. But how do you know you weren't at 70 all the time, mm-hmm, or 60? That's a big drop. Yeah. So you want to be optimal, 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 optimal. And with supplements or anything like that, I always say try to supplement with food, whole foods, before you take any supplements, because there's all these supplements that are made in China. Not that there's anything wrong. Some of them are good, but you don't know where they're coming from. You don't know if they're what kind of gums and
even when they're FDA approved. Sometimes, oh yeah, the FDA approved doesn't really mean anything.
No, I now think that FDA approved, I stay away from it because they approve, all these chemicals that are bad for us, that have been causing hormone, mm-hmm, disruption. So anyways, we can talk about, mm-hmm, that, like I said, another episode. But when it comes to supplementing, especially for like vitamin D, if it's very low, take supplements, mm-hmm, get your hormone, you get your blood, because vitamin D is a hormone. A lot of people don't know that. So you go get checked again. And if you're normal, get off of it, but make sure that you go out in the sun at least 5, 10, 15 yes, minutes every single day, yeah, to stay optimal and get off, because even though it's supplements, our bodies are still needing to get rid of that, yeah, and our liver works harder. So yeah, medication and supplements are basically the same. They're not as bad.
I have to get my vitamin D prescribed. Yeah. So I take it only once a week. Yeah, because I felt like the one that I was getting at different stores was not enough for me. So I get everybody has vitamin D deficiency for sure, but I do get mine prescribed, and try to go outside. That's how you get this golden tan. I don't pay for it. This is my own skin color, by being out in the sun. But it is important to make sure that you do focus on those supplements that you need the most, because we were talking also about magnesium, right?
Oh, magnesium, yes.
Magnesium.
That's almost everyone is depleted in their magnesium levels, because we're supposed to get magnesium from our food, from the dirt, the soil, but with all the pesticides, it kills the magnesium levels too. So we're not getting enough in our food. Get your magnesium levels checked. You shouldn't just take anything just like that either. Get checked. But for most of us, we do need magnesium.
And then there's different types of magnesium too.
Different types of magnesium. So people with anxiety, a lot of us will suffer from stomach problems, right? Like GI problems, diarrhea or constipation. There's a lot of magnesiums. There's some that will make you it affects your bowel movements, makes you go to the restroom, so you don't want to take those. You want to take magnesium glycinate is the one that's better for anxiety and for sleep and stress.
Do you know how many milligrams do you have to take?
So everyone is different. Usually if you're depleted, if you're low, whatever is on the bottle, if you get a bottle, if you get a powder is usually better. It absorbs better into your body. So whatever it says on the bottle.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. That helps. Man, I feel like this should be like a 3-hour session, not a whole hour. We still have about 15 minutes, but these are really good information. So if you have any questions, make sure that you ask us right now. Let's see. If someone would take away just one piece of advice from this conversation, what would it be?
Put yourself on the list of priorities. Check in with yourself. Be aware, because if you're not aware, and most of us will not go to the doctor or not get something done when you're fine, or it's when you're already sick, when you already have the panic attacks. So be aware. Just put yourself on the list. And a lot of my questions,
you probably already answered them. So we'll keep on going. And if you already heard it, was you're ahead of the game.
Mm-hmm. What advice would you give to someone who feels hopeless about their anxiety ever improving? So anxiety, the actual anxiety will go away. Don't believe anyone that tells you, oh no, well, that's it. You have anxiety and that's it. I had severe anxiety. I had panic attacks almost every day. Didn't want to leave my home, my apartment. This was back in the 90s when no one talked about anxiety. Yeah. I didn't even know what the hell anxiety was. Mm-hmm. I was getting ready to graduate undergrad, applying to grad schools. I already wanted to be a therapist, but I still didn't even know what anxiety was. Like the actual physical symptoms, I knew what anxiety was, right? But the actual physical symptoms, I couldn't believe, just like almost everyone, when you first get them, you're like, what the hell is this? Mm-hmm. And I felt alone, right? It's really, really hard, going through it, not talking about it. Sometimes we feel ashamed. Mm-hmm. Sometimes we feel like, oh my God, people are going to notice that I'm anxious. They see that I'm shaking. Believe me, if you talk to someone, either if they have never experienced it, they've known someone that has experienced it. And I'm glad that we talk about it now more open and more, people are advocating for mental health more, especially, I think our culture, we still need to do a lot more. But I think, talking about it, knowing that you can get rid of the panic. Mm-hmm. But more than anything, learning not to fear it. When you don't fear it, because remember, anxiety is going to be there. There's going to be triggers that we cannot put you in a bubble. Yeah. If you start eliminating triggers, you're going to make anxiety worse, because when the trigger comes, you're going to be like, oh shit, what am I going to do? Yeah. So working on your anxiety, learning at least one thing that works for you. Mm-hmm. I tell everyone, even the stuff that I teach, I tell everyone, find what works for you. If I teach you deep breathing, find mm-hmm. what works for you. The way I teach deep breathing is listen to your normal natural breath. Just stay still and listen to it. Just imagine the air going in through your nose and out through your mouth. And then find that rhythm. And as you find that rhythm, take in deeper breaths, breathing out through your mouth, breathing in through your nose and out through your mouth. And then you find your rhythm. There's a lot of people out there that are experts, or, say that they're experts or whatever, and they do like the box breathing and all that, the 6, 7, 8 mm-hmm. breathing, which mm-hmm. is great once you learn how to mm-hmm. do deep breathing. Because when you have a panic attack, can you hold your breath for 7 seconds?
No, I mean, I don't care. That's the last thing I want to, I'm not going to be thinking about 7 seconds.
Exactly. Or you can't, you're like, oh my God, you can't breathe. You can't even take a deep breath for mm-hmm. 1 second, much less 6. Yeah. So that's how I know. And that's one of the things that I tell my listeners. When you hear someone say, oh, just do 6, 7, 8, do it once you learn how to do deep breathing. And then you can do all types of breathing. There's so many different things that you can do.
Do you only deal with anxiety, or like do you also, like in your practice, you help people with depression?
So when I first started my practice, it was depression, anxiety, and ADHD. I saw kids, teens, and sometimes younger kids. Mm-hmm. But primarily it's been anxiety for, I don't know, I want to say maybe 8 years. But there's a lot of people that come with anxiety, mm-hmm. but they have depression too.
Okay. Is that part also when you have ADHD, that you have the anxiety and the depression? Yeah. That it's,
I mean, a lot of people with ADHD have anxiety, but it doesn't mean that people with anxiety have ADHD. Okay. So I hope you can understand that. So a lot of people with ADHD have anxiety. Mm-hmm. People with anxiety not
necessarily have ADHD. Yeah. So don't be going over there and now saying that you also have it too. Yeah. So I know we have about 10 minutes.
There's questions.
Yes. There's questions of it.
What can a mama do when she gets overwhelmed by their kiddos? This is an amazing question, because I love people that ask this, because remember, we're always like, I have to take care of my kids. I don't have time to meditate. I have to take care of my kids. I don't have time for the stuff that the anxiety doctor tells me to do. Teach your kids how to do deep breathing at a young age. And guess what? You're able to do it with them. Mm-hmm. You don't have to wait until they fall asleep, until they give you time, because that time hardly ever comes. So if you can teach them at a young age, you're helping yourself, but you're giving them a beautiful gift of helping them learn beautiful techniques that they're going to have for the rest of their life that are very beneficial for them. So
you will be breaking the cycle by teaching them and educating them how to deal with it, so they don't end up like us adults, like running around, right, trying to figure out how to calm ourselves.
And then is anxiety genetic or due to environment? Both. It could be anything. It could be your nervous system is just, it could be past trauma. It could be trauma that you experienced during childbirth. Remember, the brain keeps it's like an overprotective parent. When an overprotective parent, like let's say you have kids and they're walking and you're at someone's house and those people don't have kids and they don't have the little plastic
no toques.
Y lo toquen, and they put a pencil into the socket and they got almost electrocuted and they jumped back, and you're like, oh my God, guess what? You're going to be anxious about that, and you're never going to go anywhere without watching them, and because you know that they don't have the little plastic covering protectors. It keeps track of that. So the amygdala is keeping track of everything that it thinks is dangerous. And what was the question? Oh, genetics. And so there's so many different reasons why we can get anxiety. Sometimes it is, again, genetics. Sometimes it's trauma. Sometimes it's just you got scared and then you fear that symptom. And anything that feels like, oh my God, what if I get anxious? If you're thinking that, if you're waking up every day thinking like, what if I have anxiety today? Guess what? You're just planting the little seed for the amygdala to give you the symptoms of anxiety, because it's thinking like, oh yeah, you're right. Let me give you some little bit of anxiety. So yeah.
Well, Dr. Lisa is retiring from taking patients, but that doesn't mean that we're not going to get her to she already said she'll come on a podcast 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah, 10. Now I have more time because I was always.
But she's going into a new journey too. First of all, she's got amazing product, which is tea, and I want her to talk about it
also
before we
could
leave.
Follow my podcast.
Yeah,
I mean,
so
it's a very popular podcast.
So let's tell the audience where they can find you, and then let's tell them about your tea, and then about the new product that is coming on.
Okay, so I'm at The Anxiety Doctor. That's THE, The Anxiety, and DR. I posted a link. I guess you can. I mean, not a link.
I'll add her information as well.
Oh, Moni just posted my handle. It's The Anxiety Doctor. I also have a podcast. It's The Anxiety Doctor Podcast. You can find it anywhere: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeart, all everywhere. And then I own a wellness tea company that I started back in 2021. I don't know if we have time for my little story, but when I got diagnosed with anxiety, I called my mom. Or when I was experiencing anxiety, I called my mom, my Mexican mother, and I told her what was happening, and she said, "Tómate un tecito." And I remember hanging up, and I'm like, why did I call my Mexican mother? I knew that she was going to want to cure everything with a cup of tea, right? Y me enojé y dije, ay, why did I call her? But 2 days later, I was desperate. I'm like, let me go find el pinche tecito. And so I go and I find it. Didn't cure my anxiety, but did it help? Yes, it helped. So my mom and my grandma have always been herbalists, right? Mm-hmm. They make their own little concoction and stuff. And they brought me up drinking tea. So here I am years later.
Did you thank your mother? That's what I want to know.
Oh, I always do. Good. My mom is the best mother anyone can ever have. So we have, it started with the anxiety ease tea. I would blend it for my patients and I would give it to them. Mm-hmm. They would always say like, you need to make your teas. And I'm like, I don't have time. The pandemic hit and I'm like, you know what? Now I have time. So I started it's called Te Sana. Te is tea, but it also means it heals you in Spanish. So it's Te Sana. It heals you. We have, I think, 20 something blends. We have an anxiety ease blend, stress-free, one for sleep, a new one that just came out that you're the first one to have.
So she had a giveaway y yo siempre ando de metiche metiéndome a todos los giveaways. Pero this time I was one of the winners. So today when I got in, she's like, here's your tea. So llevo té
para un
para
año.
buen rato. And I told her, but you know what? I'm used to buying the teas that already come in the little bag,
Don't
right?
buy
And
that.
use that. And she told me, do not buy that because.
So the teas have microplastics, right? If they're not good for you, they've been bleached, they're not good for you. And then the tea is powder. Literally, it's the bottom of the barrel stuff that you don't want. This is loose leaf tea, high quality, all organic. I vet all the vendors, meaning that I talk to them. I make sure that they're ethically sourced, that they don't pay their workers pennies, that they pay them a fair wage and living. And yeah, all organic, way better than medications. I'm not against medications, but I don't think it's the first thing you should do to cure your anxiety. And it doesn't work fully. You need to go to therapy. So our new tea, we're launching the Pure Wellness Collection. Now that I have time, I decided to expand the Tesana brand.
We're moving to a new level here, okay? We're moving to a new level.
So we're doing the Pure Wellness Collection, which includes the menopause tea. Anyone that buys this tea, actually, I'm going to put your address because you didn't, your email address.
Yes.
I'm launching a free women's group.
Okay.
It's called Women Who Pause.
Okay.
So it's anyone in their 30s, 40s, and beyond. When we go through menopause, we're going to probably experience some sort of anxiety because of our hormone levels. So if you buy the menopause tea or any of the new products we're launching into skincare, we're using all organic essential oils, pure, really high quality essential oils. We have
show me what
we have the luxury eye oil for our wrinkles without chemicals, all the chemicals that we put in our body. 2 years ago, I decided to count all the ingredients in the first 20 products that I use. Shampoo, conditioner, soap, face wash, toner, all this stuff, 489 ingredients in the first hour of waking up. And that's because I tried to use clean, beauty products, and they were still not clean. So these are pure, clean products. This is again for the eye. We're gonna have a face oil. We're gonna have a lip balm, several of them, I think 3.
And then you have also
the magnesium spray.
I've already claimed the magnesium, and if I don't want to do Botox, I'm gonna be trying also the oil. And so I'll be letting you know how it goes. And the only thing that I told her was like, I want to do the loose tea, but I don't have a way to make it, right? I mean, I can do it the old fashioned way where you throw everything in and then you use the,
that's actually good.
Yeah.
If you have one, it's actually better. So for loose leaf tea, the more they float around, the better. The more you're getting the pureness of so the strainer that I sell, is about that big. They're able to swim there.
Okay.
But if you do it on there, and then just strain it.
So old fashioned way is the way to go. Yes. Okay. Sounds good. Any questions, guys, before we leave? I really wanted to do this because I know I'm not the only one that is feeling a certain way. I know, and I keep on touching the micro.
If you want to learn more from me, you buy any of the new products, you get into and I'm a giver. If you get into my women's group, we're going to do free workshops, you're in, and meditation. If you want to learn how to meditate, we'll be doing all that stuff.
She's done a meditation that I've seen her do it in a large group. It was truly amazing. I am working with it because, when I meditate, I tend to start thinking about my the list of things to do, and my mind just goes completely on what I'm supposed to be doing, which is just relaxing. So I'm working on that. So more than likely I will be coming to her for those meditations and the groups. But I will be talking to you about my experience with the tea. I had gotten a tea from her a while back. I still have it. And this was before I even knew her. I had gotten the tea. And let me just say this. This is how the universe and God works. I had gotten your tea, the bag of tea from a place that I went to. I did not know anything about her. And then the universe brought us back. here we are.
Yay.
I get
And now
another
you
bag
have
of tea.
5 bags of tea.
Chingos of tea. But not only that, I have someone who immediately said yes to me when I wanted to launch this podcast again. Somebody that not only gives me the support, but also is allowing me to get the knowledge from her, the golden nuggets, and share with all of you, because I know I'm not the only one that is going through this. And having that support system is what makes the difference. Having your support system. And if there's somebody and if you don't have a support system in your family, then you need to break the cycle. You need to be the one that brings in the education. You're the one that needs to change so that the rest of the family see how you're changing. And then they're going to come and ask you, what are you doing? Without us judging them, because that's normally how it works. Mm-hmm. We change and then they come and ask you, like, how are you doing it? So before they kick us out of here, I want to ask you, how are you breaking the cycle?
I break the cycle every single day by teaching others to break the cycle, my patients. But I break the cycle every day also showing my girls that it's important to take care of themselves and teaching people to be aware, and more than anything, like I said, learning how to put yourself on that list of priorities.
So today, put yourself on the list of priorities. Make sure that you follow Dr. Lisa. Make sure that you're the first one to order the tea, and make sure that you share this with somebody that might need to hear this information. Thank you so much for joining us. We will have some more, because I'm going to get you on that. You told me you're going to come. We're going to get her more, and send any questions. Email her, contact her. She always get back with you. So thank you so much.
Yay!
Thank you for everything.
Yes.
All righty then. Okay, now how do I turn this off?